French President Emmanuel Macron said the country has switched to wartime economic mode to increase production of weapons as aid to Ukraine. French President Macron announced on January 16 that Paris will complete preparations for a bilateral agreement on security guarantees for Ukraine in the coming weeks. He will announce the signing of this agreement during his visit to Ukraine scheduled for February. He added that France has been turning to a wartime economy to boost military production, which will allow us to supply more equipment to our Ukrainian partners, especially the Caesar artillery they waiting. We are finalizing a bilateral agreement on guarantees that will be signed in the coming weeks. We will proceed with the transfer of new weapons, about 40 Scalp, Storm Shadow, missiles and hundreds of bombs that Ukraine needs, Mr. Macron declared. According to him, France and the European Union will need to make new decisions in the coming weeks and months to continue supporting Ukraine. Internal disagreements in the US and EU are causing two major aid proposals for Ukraine to not be approved. Ukraine has repeatedly warned that receiving only small amounts of aid will affect Kiev's combat capabilities. In the middle of last year, the G7 countries announced an international framework for security for Ukraine aimed at strengthening Kiev's finances and defense capabilities. Ukraine has lobbied for long-term security commitments from Western partners. France has been negotiating bilaterally since June 2023, but there are few details about what Western countries are willing to do, and as the war enters its third year, there are questions about the level of commitment. Alliance with Kiev. French diplomatic sources said the security agreement would outline a framework for long-term humanitarian aid, reconstruction assistance and military support. Kiev is seeking to maintain the flow of military and financial aid from Western allies after nearly 2 years of dealing with Russia's powerful military potential. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak visited Kiev last week to sign a new security agreement and announce increased military funding for Ukraine to buy drones, including surveillance, long-range attack and drones. Drone over sea. Previously, experts said that the war in Ukraine showed that NATO seemed unprepared for a major war, especially against a strong opponent like Moscow. The most specific example is defense production capacity. The Western Bloc has poured a series of weapons and ammunition into Ukraine, and many countries have faced ammunition exhaustion. However, the West's offset production capacity is still a big question mark. Their industries have not been in a wartime phase for decades, and whether to accelerate arms production for Ukraine or to protect the national security of these countries as well as that of the bloc is a big question mark.